Lies, a Draco X Reader fanfiction by Draco X Readers on Wattpad. Chapter 1, Train. The train was moving forwards. You were sitting beside the window, staring outside. The scenery was always beautiful. Your 6th year at Hogwarts already. Time went by fast. Before you knew it, it was over. The door opened. Your eyes immediately pulled away from the window and shot towards the compartment door. Hello, you smiled when you saw Harry, Ron, and Hermione. They sat down. Hermione and Ron smiled and said hi, while Harry didn't say anything. There was always something up with Harry. What's up, Mr. Potter? You asked them. Don't you see? It was a ceremony, an initiation, Harry exclaimed. You looked at him in confusion, not knowing what it was about. You actually only hung out with them at Hogwarts. You didn't see them all summer. You sent them letters and all, but that was it. Stop, Harry. I know where you're going with this, Hermione sighed. It's happened. He's one of them, Harry yelled. Harry probably raised his voice to sound more believable. Even though you had no idea what he was talking about, you wanted to know. One of what? You asked. Harry sighed and looked away. If he was the confident one, why would he? Maybe he knew his theory wasn't true. Hermione turned to you, her hazel eyes staring at you. You looked back to her. Harry is under the impression that Draco Malfoy is now a Death Eater. Draco Lucius Malfoy, the only Slytherin you didn't know in person. You were a Slytherin yourself, not a popular one. You're friends with the Golden Trio. That's why you stayed away from Draco Malfoy, even though you were pure blood, even though your friendship with the Golden Trio wasn't that special. It was not as if Draco would really believe you if you said that. You didn't really care about what he thought. He was the reason that the Slytherins didn't accept you. You're barking. What would you know who want with a sword like Malfoy? You knew Harry, Ron, and Hermione hated him. He'd been almost bullying them for the past 5 years. No doubt he was going to do that again this year. So what's he doing in Borgin and Brooks, browsing for furniture? Harry said. It's a creepy shop. He's a creepy bloke, he replied. Harry sighed in frustration and leaned forwards. He placed his wrist on his knees. He really wanted to convince the rest he was right. Draco had awful parents, but that didn't mean he was a Death Eater. Of course you couldn't judge that. You hardly knew Draco Malfoy. Look, his father's a Death Eater. It only makes sense. Besides, Hermione saw it with her own eyes. You look at Hermione. She knew Harry was asking him to back him up, but she clearly felt uncomfortable. I told you I don't know what I saw, she said. Harry got up and snatched the invisibility cloak from Ron's hands. He was clearly angry. He rushed out of the compartment. You sighed and sat back. He's mental, Ron sighed. Absolutely obsessed, Hermione followed. You got up and walked towards the door. You opened it and looked across the hall. Harry wasn't there. What was he up to? You sighed and closed the door before sitting back down. You stared outside again. Even though you were a pure-blood Slytherin, your parents didn't want to have to do with the Malfoys. They didn't want anything to do with the dark magic they thought the Malfoys were busy with. Maybe they were right after all. You always tried not to judge people, but your mind sometimes couldn't help it. You surely didn't want to make any wrong assumptions. To you, Draco was just a guy at Hogwarts that was the same house as you were. What do you think? Hermione asked you. You look up. About Draco? You asked her. I don't really know. We'll just have to wait and see, he said. Hermione sighed and sat back. Ron looked at her shortly, surprised by the long sigh she let out afterwards. What the bloody hell's wrong with you, all of a sudden? Ron asked her. Hermione looked at him. Her eyes looked slightly surprised. Her eyes looked slightly surprised as she expected him to know what she was irritated about. You didn't know. You always do this, she snapped at you. Now you were the one that was surprised. Hermione sat back and raised her brows as if you were supposed to get the hint. You couldn't see what you did wrong. You didn't insult anyone. You didn't say too much. You didn't say anything that could annoy anyone. Excuse me, is there a problem I'm not seeing? You asked. Ron was startled by the change of mood in the compartment. Can Harry come back now? Might lighten the mood. You heard him mumble. Harry doesn't have to come back, Hermione sighed. Excuse me, you still didn't tell me what I did wrong, you said. Hermione immediately looked back at you. She crossed her arms and let out another long sigh. You never have an opinion on anything. You always leave it in the middle. You always say, "Oh yeah, we'll see," she said, annoyed. "I don't know Draco Malfoy. What do I have to say? Yeah, he acts like an arse sometimes, but must be a Death Eater," you said sarcastically. "If that's what you're thinking," Hermione said. You sighed and decided not to answer. Ron got up and opened the compartment door. "Hurry!" he yelled. You grabbed one of Hermione's books and threw it at Ron's head. He turned around and looked at you in shock. "Stop overreacting, drama queen," you grinned. "Did you really have to throw my book?" Hermione asked. You looked at Hermione and then her huge pile of books. "You have the most. When you damage one, you can still read those other ones," you said. Hermione quickly put her books away, and Ron handed back the one you threw. "I like keeping my stuff in best shape possible. Maybe you should try to do the same with our friendship," you sighed. She shot you a look. You passed her a fake smile. "Girls, please, you're friends. We're talking about an opinion here, Hermione. So what if she doesn't give an opinion on Draco Malfoy? She doesn't react like this. Now apologize and talk about unicorns again," Ron sighed. You looked at Hermione and she looked at you. "Which unicorn is your favorite? The one with or without the horn?" You joked. Hermione laughed. You joined in, and quickly Ron joined. Then it stopped, and you looked back outside. "I wonder what Hogwarts is going to bring us this year," you sighed. I don't have a very good feeling about this year." "I have the exact same feeling," Hermione sighed. "There's something about all the drama that's been happening. It's only getting worse." "Tell me about it," Ron sighed. "I don't think Harry will ever get over Sirius's death. I don't think I can," he said. "You weren't there the night Sirius died. You were quite happy with that. You didn't want to see him die. It hurt you that he was dead. He was an amazing man. The only family Harry still had. Poor guy," you replied. I think he'll recover from this," Hermione said. As silence crossed the compartment, Hermione got up and grabbed her bag. "I'll get dressed," she said. "I expect we'll be arriving soon." She walked out. Ron grabbed his bag as well. "Mind staying here?" he asked you. You shook your head. Ron walked out as well. You sighed and sat back. You didn't want to get dressed in the compartment. The prefect compartments might have blinds in front of the window, but other compartments don't. You hated waiting. The train was almost at the station, and Ron and Hermione were still taking a long time. When you saw the station from your window view, you quickly got up and ran through the train looking for an empty toilet to get dressed in. One of the doors opened, and you ran in. Getting ready always took ages. The socks, skirt, blouse, jumper, tie. You wished Ron and Hermione could be quicker from time to time.